Hey guys, I'm Tyler from Righteous Gaming. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate it. If you aren't already, please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to hit 1,000 followers on YouTube so that we can get bumped up to that next level of tier on YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about gold foils. Now, in Flesh and Blood, gold foils are certain prize cards that players get from either winning an event or top 8ing an event. There are a couple different categories of gold foils. First, and whenever you get a gold foil, you get a sealed packet, and so you don't really know which one you're going to get. First, there are sealed common gold foil envelopes. Second, there are sealed common and majestic gold foil envelopes. Third, you get sealed legendaries. And lastly, you can get unsealed cards, but whenever you win a calling, you get a special legendary, usually a generic, that you win. And these are more expensive, they're more rare. Examples in the past have been like Tunics or Balance of Justice or Crown of Providence, and right now they're giving out Stonewall Gauntlet to players who win callings. But the ones that we're going to focus on today are the common majestic ones and the legendary ones, because those are the ones that most players will win if they win a gold foil. But let's start with the common and majestic gold foils. The common and majestic gold foils you get for winning either a Road to Nationals or a ProQuest. Now, we just got past a Road to National season, so there are a lot coming to the market right now. However, I'm not seeing a ton of sales for gold foil cards, for gold foil packets, and I'm just wondering why that is. And so as I've been digging around doing my research, I've noticed a couple things. First is that the buyers of these gold foil cards are wanting to buy them for pretty cheap. Second, the sellers who are selling the gold foil cards who have won them are not wanting to sell them for that cheap. They're pricing them a bit too high. So let's take a look at some of the prices that people are asking and that people are buying for and see if we can make sense of the market. First, the buyers. Now, there used to be a lot of buyers for these gold foil envelopes. Last year, 2 years ago, these gold foil common majestic envelopes were selling for around $500 or $600 a pack. However, these days, after this Road to National season, these gold foils have been getting a bit more common. You know, there's a Road to National season every year, and there's 2 different ProQuest seasons a year. So there's 3 big month-long seasons that these gold foils are being given out every year, and the longer we go, the more seasons we get, the more supply hits the market, and the further down these prices are going. This past season, I've only really seen one buyer that's been open about buying gold foils, and he's been buying them around $250 for a common majestic gold foil envelope. And so you may ask yourself, that seems low. It is a bit low, but people are selling to him at that price. He's bought a few of them at that price. So we can only assume that this is a fair and reasonable price. If sellers are willing to sell them and a buyer is willing to buy them, then that can be a reasonable price for these cards. However, most sellers have been listing their gold foil envelopes for like $400 or $500, trying to get more value out of them. However, they're not really selling. No one's really wanting to reach that high when they're wanting to buy these envelopes. And why should they? They're already selling for $250. So right now the market is kind of in a stalemate. The buyers don't really want to pay more for their cards, for these envelopes, and the sellers don't really want to sell them for less. And so these sellers are either keeping them or they're opening them. So the amount of actual sealed envelopes on the market is not that much, because the players would just rather open them. Now, why would they rather open them? Well, they want to see what they get. They're a fun memory from these tournaments. They want to see if they can get a card that they can play with. You know, I know a lot of players that love opening their envelopes to see what's inside, and if they get a card that they can play with, great, they'll play with it. Or else they might trade for one that they want to play with. They'll sell that one to buy one that they want to play with. Me personally, I've won 4 or 5 of these gold foils, and I just sell them after I open them so I can buy ones that I do want to play with, mainly ninja ones. So that's one cause for it. So this market's kind of at a stalemate. There's not really an equilibrium happening. The buyers aren't paying more, and the sellers aren't wanting to take less. And so what is a price range for these gold foil envelopes? Where can we reasonably see them land after this season. And we got to remember that we have a whole nother ProQuest season coming up in a month. So we're going to have a whole nother batch of gold foils hitting the market. I mean, I think they stay around the $250, $300 range for sealed gold foil envelopes. They can't go a whole lot higher because a lot of these gold foils are starting to decline in price. The unplayable ones, the ones that no one uses for any decks, are staying around $100 after they've been opened. And then the other ones, the ones that are playable, are sitting around $400 when they're selling. And so there's not much more room up for these gold foils to go. So I think that the buyers are going to end up winning this battle, and the price for these sealed envelopes are going to be stick around $250 to $300. But the singles prices for the envelopes after they've been opened are going to have to start coming down. Now we can treat these similar to a booster box in Flesh and Blood. The booster box in Flesh and Blood, you're expected to get around 70% of value after you open the box. So if you buy a box for $100, you're expected to get $70, $75 worth of cards in the box for opening a single box. And so I think the same can be applied for these envelopes as well. If the price is going to stay around $250 to $300 for a sealed envelope, the expected value should be around $200 to $225 after you open it. This means that singles prices for these cards are going to have to go down a lot in order to meet the expected value ratio of opening a sealed packet. Because if the singles prices stay high, then a lot more people are going to be buying these envelopes around $250 so they can quick flip and sell the cards for $400. But we're not seeing that. We're not seeing like anyone with open buy offers for these sealed common and majestic envelopes. Just the one guy that I've been seeing, and so these single prices are going to have to fall. And so, what's a reasonable price for all these cards? Well, I've tried my best to come up with a list of prices based on the playability of the card. As we know from the Flesh and Blood market, if you watch the previous video that I did, the Flesh and Blood market is all about playability. It's all about desirability. If a card's not played, if a card's not desirable, it's going to go down in price. However, if a card is desirable, if a card is being played, then the card price rises. And so let's think about what prices for these gold foil cards should be at. In my mind, $100, $75, $100 is the floor for a gold foil. Coat of Frost, Bone Vizier, Threadbare Tunic, these are all cards that I've seen sold for $75 to $100. And so I think that's a reasonable price to hit a floor. And then when opening one, losing 2/3 of your money seems decently reasonable if you're going to hit a bad one. Secondly, I think the next tier up is like $150 to $200. You know, you're losing a little bit of money when you're opening these gold foils. These are going to be kind of playable, maybe sideboard cards. Cards don't see a ton of play, but do see some play. Sideboard cards like Null Rune Equipment, Evanfold, cards like that, that maybe they see play in Commoner, maybe they see play in Fringe decks, but ones that aren't going to be played a whole lot. The next tier up is going to be $250 to $300. These cards are going to be playable in low tier decks. Going to be playable in LL heroes. A lot of weapons will fall into this category. And then unplayable Majestics, such as Helm of Sharp Eye or Hexagore, might be in this category as well. Some of the commons that could be in this category are Technical Plasma Pistol. In fact, I sold 2 a couple of weeks ago for $250 each. Romping Club, Anathos, Breaking Scales, all these cards will fall into this tier. Cards that will be playable, but only in like one hero. So there's not a wide range of people wanting to buy these cards. The next tier up will be $350 to $500. These will be cards that are playable in like S tier heroes. Maybe they're playable in only one deck. They're playable in a couple decks. New cards that get announced every season. Every season there's new gold foils that they make, and so some of these cards will fall into this category. Some of those like Starfall, we saw confirmed sales at $400 for. Tide Flippers at $350 is a confirmed sale. Other cards like Arcane Lantern, Halo of Illumination, the Majestics of lower tier heroes are also in this category. Cards like Crater Fist, Voltaire, all cards that fall within this $350 to $500 range for gold foils. Finally, we get $500 plus. This is reserved for the top tier of gold foils. You're looking at Majestics that are played in a lot of decks. Majestics that are even played in 1 or 2 decks. These are like the chase cards, like Courage of Bladehold, Mask of Pouncing Lynx, Metacarpus Node are all in this category. And 1 or 2 commons, most notably Snapdragon Scalers. It's sitting around $800 right now. I sold one for that price in Memphis this year. And so that's kind of the range, about $75 to about $800 is where these gold foils should sit, and that's pretty reasonable. Losing a third of your money to tripling your money as a range for when we look at sealed gold foils going for $250, $300, that seems pretty reasonable right now. So if you're looking to sell cards, if you're looking to buy cards, you can use that kind of tier list as a range to get you an idea of what you should be paying for these cards. We also have to keep in mind that over the past 2 or 3 years, gold foil prices are on the decline. They're not going up in price right now. And so we're still seeing downward momentum for the market. And so who knows where we end up bottoming. Personally, I don't think the bottom is here. I think sealed envelope packets will bottom around 150 or so, 150 to 200 after a couple more years. The more they, that keep getting put out, the more they keep getting released. It's just going to saturate the market more. And so that's kind of where I think they'll bottom, but I think we still have a couple years because price memory for sellers is still around that $500-$600 mark, and they're not willing to go that low yet. So I think we still have some time before that happens. Next, we'll look at the sealed prices for legendaries. Now, legendaries you win if you win a Battle Harden, or if you top 8 a Calling, or a Pro Tour, or Worlds, or you'll get them at some nationals depending on how big your country is. How big your country's nationals is, you'll get them for top 8 or top 4, maybe top 2 or the winner. And so where are prices of these ones at right now? In the past couple of years, they've been selling pretty consistently for $1,600, $1,700. And there have been 3 or 4 buyers that have been buying them all up at $1,600, $1,700. However, these buyers are not buying those gold foils anymore. They're not paying those prices anymore. And so I've seen prices for these sealed legendary packets go all the way down to $1,000, $1,200. I've seen them sell for that price at different callings. And so I think firmly like $1,100 is right now the market price for a sealed gold foil legendary based on sales that I've seen. And so what does that mean for the singles market? Now, gold foil legendaries are a lot harder to price out for the secondary market because there's such a wide range of them. You got older ones that have hit the market already and are in forever homes, and you have newer ones that keep hitting the market, but some of them are desirable and playable, some of them are not. So what's a good range for them? I mean, I think floor for any gold foil legendary will be around $600 to $700, maybe up to $800 for the bad ones. These ones you're looking at like Ghostly Touch or Meridian Pathway, maybe the new Mask of Deceit, because those ones aren't being played a whole lot. The heroes that they would be played in aren't very good. And I've seen sales for around those prices for those cards. I just sold a Meridian Pathway for $800, and so I think that's a fair value for the bottom tier of legendaries. And just like we talked about before with the common Majestics, you have to be able to open these packets and lose money on them. If you're not going to lose money on these packets, then everyone would be buying them sealed so they can make a quick $100 on them. However, that's just not the case. I don't see any open buy offers right now for over $1,000, and there's not a ton even being sold for that because, again, like the commons and Majestics, the players aren't willing to go down that low to sell them, but the buyers are not willing to increase their prices to buy them. So we're kind of, again, in this stalemate where cards aren't really being sold right now. The next tier up is going to be $900 to $1,000. These are going to be the playable lower tier ones. Non-extended art ones will fall into this category, like Traverse the Universe, Trench the Sunken Treasure. Crown of Dominion has a Marvel with it, but that'll probably fall in this category. A lot of the new ones are going to fall into this category, like Dragon Scaler, and like Bark Skin will be in here too. And so this category is for most of the newer ones that come out, because not a lot of them are going to be rising above the price of sealed, because more people are going to be getting them and more of them are going to be hitting the market at one time. And so they're going to be a little oversaturated initially. The next tier up is going to be anywhere from $1,100 to $1,500. These are going to be older playable ones that are going to be playable in lower tier heroes, maybe a couple of the top decks, depending on when they've been released. You're looking at like Scowling Fleshbag, Face Purgatory could be in this category, Diadic Carapace, Carrion Husk is in this category. So not ones that are super in demand, but not ones that are super old, but ones that are about a couple years old that have some play are going to be in this category. The next category is going to be about $1,500 to $2,300. These are going to be older playable cards, ones that are more rare now. Like I said, a lot of the older cards are in forever homes, and so it'll be more rare to open these because they're capping these gold foils at a certain amount of cards, and so the longer we go, the less likely you are to open these cards up. I'm talking about like Valiant Dynamo, Phantasmal Footsteps, Shock Charmers is even in this category. And finally, you have a category of like the chase cards. What are the chase cards? They're going to be the older Arcane Rising, Welcome to Wraith ones. These will be somewhere around $2,500 and above. The lowest ones being the ones that aren't playable right now, like Tekla Foundry Heart. One just got posted today for $2,500. And the higher tier ones, they're going to be the most playable ones. Mask Momentum, Storm Striders. These will be pushing $3,500, $4,000 for these cards. But there's not a ton of options. There's 8 or 9 of them that are available from this era. And so those are the price ranges you're looking at for these. And so will we see the gold foil market start to hit an equilibrium where there's a agreed upon price for sealed and then more of agreed upon range of prices for the open ones? I don't know. I think it'll still take a couple years to get there because a lot of players view these as like their prize cards. These are their trophies, the things that they win, and they're really cool. I have a couple myself, and so I don't think players are going to be that willing to budge on the prices that they're selling them for, and I don't think that buyers are going to be that willing to go up in price because they're seeing these ones that are going for $50, $100, and they're scared that they're going to lose 2/3 of their money opening them. And so where am I at? If I were to buy them, I have an open buy offer for $200 for a common Majestic envelope and $900 for a sealed legendary envelope. If you want to sell them, message me, hassle free. I'll send you the money. You send me the card, or we can meet up at a big event like a Calling or a Battle Harden. And I'd love to pay those prices for your cards. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you. What do you guys think the market should be at? What do you think that sealed should go for or open cards should go for? Have you opened any? Why do you open them? And what do you do with them? Do you keep them as your prize cards? Do you trade with them? I'd like to hear from you guys kind of what your ideas for the gold foil market are, and where you think that the market ends up in a couple years.